we're joined by anti-racist activist Françoise Vergès, the author of A Feminist Theory of Violence. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24. Will you be attending a Justice for Nile march this weekend?
Yes, I will. I think it's very important to contest, to go against the ban that the government has imposed. There is really police violence, there is structural racism in France, and it's very important to denounce it.
The government's saying it's approving rallies for the Justice for Nile, but banning the one regarding this 2016 death in detention of Adama Traore.
Yes, I mean, this is, dividing to rule, if we may say, the very old tactic. So, Nile is accepted as something that is really terrible things, but the refusal to still recognize that Adama Traore was killed by gendarmes explain also this ban. They still don't want, the police still don't want to recognize, and the justice still don't want to recognize that Adama Traore was killed by the gendarme.
Several inquiries have cleared the gendarmes of wrongdoing.
Yes, you're right, but they are also still demand. Even the Défenseur des droits has asked very recently to go back on the investigation. There is a real problem with this Adama Traore murder. But there is also this more and more authoritarian government, with successive laws that restrict freedom and liberties and, increase censorship and repression. I mean, since Nile death, don't remember, there is another death and there is someone in the coma right now because of police violence.
Yeah, they're still investigating the specifics of what happened to a man on a moped in Marseille. The coroner's report wondering if it's perhaps a rubber bullet that may have killed him.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Françoise Vergès, when you what will be the state of mind at that rally on Saturday that you'll be attending? Because there's been a big blowback against the fact that there was so much violence and looting.
Yes, of course, but there is really now a focus on the riots, and this is popular uprising. I mean, what is forgotten is the systemic humiliation and brutality every day in this neighborhood. I mean, this is it's suddenly, of course, the burning of shops and everything look like, and of municipalities, offices. We look and we say, oh my God, what's happening? But then this mask, the systemic daily violence. There is no public services in this neighborhood. The rate of unemployment is very high. There is systemic racism, structural racism. So the way in which the government now insists on that, and rush to effectively, and this is understandable, to rebuild the shops and other things. But what about the popular neighborhood? What is being, thought? What's going to happen? Nothing. I mean, apparently, and this has been for years. As you know, these are not the first uprising. This is certainly not the first. And this is not going to be the last if this continues like that.
Well, let's listen to France's president. He spoke on Thursday while on a trip to the southwest of France.
We have all lived through an important moment in the life of the nation, so we will continue to work. First of all, the first response is order, calm, and harmony. And then it's to work on the root causes of what happened.
Françoise Vergès, are those the right words?
Well, it's... we would like to think so, but they have been said so many times and not being followed by action. I'm really suspicious. I mean, I can't really trust because also of the other decision taken by this government, as we know, banning an environmental movement, banning, censorship, even talking about stopping, social network and platform during, that only authoritarian government are doing, or, increasing surveillance. So I'm really dubious about the real will to change something.
In the case of Snapchat, it was because looters were organizing on it and places to target.
Yes, of course. I mean, of course, but as we know, the censorship of platform, it's all only taken in, dictatorship or in another authoritarian government. There are other ways to fight against that. And the first thing is to recognize structural racism in the police and structural racism in the society. That's the first things to recognize and to act against. Otherwise, things, violence will continue as we saw, as you noticed yourself after the death of Nahel.
There's been a lot of pushback against what you've just said. People from the French political establishment who refuse to accept that there's institutional or systemic racism in its midst. One example coming earlier this week, a high school in the northern Paris suburb of Saint-Denis stripped of its name. It was named after Angela Davis, an icon of the U.S. civil rights movement, replaced by Rosa Parks. Now, this began in 2021. Davis, who had studied at the Sorbonne, by the way, before going on to join the Black Panthers and be a member of the American Communist Party, had signed an open letter by intellectuals denouncing a colonial mentality in France regarding, in particular, people of color. Let's take a listen to the conservative head of the Paris area region, Valérie Pécresse, pounding on a procedure because the township had not asked the region's permission.
The French state was showing evidence of systemic racism. I believe that in these conditions and context, people can continue expressing themselves in a very positive way on the French state. Considering the events that have taken place recently, I think there is a need to enforce the laws of the Republic.
Françoise Vergès, changing the name of a high school named after Angela Davis, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is so absurd, this is so absurd. There is the ignorance of Madame Pécresse, and this, it's almost ridiculous. Angela Davis has proved an incredible attachment to really justice and really equality, and to refuse to give her name to a woman, a black woman, and really was, as I say, constantly fought for justice and equality and against racism, show how Madame Pécresse is really behind, and does not understand. And
is this just anecdotal? Let me just ask you quickly, is this just anecdotal? After all, the education minister was against that move to replace her name by that of Rosa Parks.
Yes, he was against. But this, show that how, those who are in power in France right now are totally, panicking and really acting ridiculously. As you were saying, replacing the name in, and invoking the Republic for that has no meaning whatsoever. But what is being really punished here is that Angela Davis said something about the colonial past of France. And we do know that the afterlife of colonialism are still very, very strong in France, very strong. Even I will say, United Nations report, studies by scholars, very respected scholars. So what is needed today? This, even European Commission, as we say that France is, police violence in France should be investigated.
Françoise Vergès, many thanks for speaking with us here on France 24.
Thank you.